U2 are an Irish rock band from Dublin formed in 1976. One is the third track from their 1991 album, Achtung Baby, and it has since been featured in polls as one of the greatest songs of all time. U2 have performed one at every one of their tour concerts since the song's live debut in 1992. Whilst we are talking about touring, why not drop into the John Gwynn Travel Show here on Seclo Sounds Radio, 12 p.m. on Mondays. Now, let's return to Izzy as she discusses her short film Need.
It's a short film that I made 3 years ago, and it's about a couple that live in a futuristic world, and they can only have one child. They're only allowed to have one child, but they get pregnant with twins. So they have a dilemma on their hands.
I've seen the film. You can see it on YouTube. I must say, normally for independent films, there's always an issue with them. You know, they can't always get the best actors, and sometimes the sound isn't so good because they can't afford the technical equipment. But the production values on Need are very, very high. And when I first saw it, it was almost like a real feature film, if I can call it that. You know, that cost many millions of dollars. So, how did you manage to finance this and get such quality actors and technicians?
Oh, well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say that. Well, I paid for it myself. It cost very little money. We actually spent, I think, $2,500 on it, which is peanuts in the film world. But I lucked out because I had an amazing producer, and he's one of my best friends right now. His name is Fawad Almasi, and he brought together just that most amazing crew. Every favor that anybody ever owed him, he pulled it together for that movie, and we ended up getting free lenses, a wonderful sound technician who worked with David Cronenberg, and just great actors, and it just came together. A lot of wonderful people that wanted to help me make a good movie.
The whole thing is set in like one small room, I guess, or majority of it, and the protagonist is a young man, and the film is very much about choices in life that I guess we all have to make, but these ones were particularly difficult. But this choice was about unborn children, and normally it would be a woman that would make that choice. So why did you sort of focus on the man that would be doing that? And it seems odd.
It does. Well, I chose common sense because I figured in a world where, you know, it's a one-world government kind of thing, they wouldn't want pregnant women involved in any decision-making. They probably would have wanted a more logical approach, and given the background of this world where they're really sterilizing people mentally, they figured that the man would have been much easier to handle this situation, giving the right opportunities. But again, this guy is different. He's very connected to the situation and to his humanity, and he's not so easily steered.
That was the soundtrack. And who was that by, Izzy?
That was by Jason Greenberg, and he also became a very good friend of mine during this process. And he wrote this song actually very shortly after his father passed away. And I don't know if you know, that had something to do with why the song is so emotional, but he not only pulled throughout a very difficult time, he just made the movie so much better than it was before he added all the sound effects to it.
Right. Oh, did he do other sound effects apart from the
Yes,
soundtrack?
he did. He wrote the song and he added some sound effects at the important moments, so I'm very grateful to him.
Before we go on talking about the film, we better have your next track. This is a music program, so we better play some music. So track 3, what is this? And again, why did you choose this one in particular?
And that is La Noye by Jan Tiersen, and it's from a 2002 movie called Amélie. And I adore the film, I adore the filmmaker, and not to mention the musician. It's such a perfect song, a very cinematic song, and one of my favorites.
That's great. Thanks. Here we go then with Jan Tiersen, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, La Noye. Sounds exists to bring people and communities together to celebrate all that's best about the city. We broadcast a variety of music and speech programs produced by local people, and we're run by over 60 volunteers. There's always room for more, so if you have a program idea or a skill that you want to offer, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org.
Jan Tiersen is a French musician. His musical career is split between studio albums, collaborations and film soundtracks. His most famous soundtrack is for the 2001 romantic comedy film Amélie, and this is where La Noye first came to prominence. For the Amélie soundtrack, Tiersen received the César Award for Best Music Written for a Film, and the World Soundtrack Academy Award. You are listening to Seclo Sounds. Email radio@seclosounds.org. We then went on to talk about the various challenges that Izzy encountered as producer, director and writer of the film Need, and of those roles, which one was the most difficult?
The most difficult one was producing. They generally say not to direct and produce at the same time, that it is suicide, and it kind of is, because while a director should be focusing on revising their script and rehearsing their actors, as a producer you're also worried about logistics and making sure that the food arrives on time and transportation is coordinated, which my producer did a lot of that, but before he came on board I had to pull a few things together. So I would love to be in a position one day where I can just either produce or direct, but not do them at the same time.
How did Need do in the outside world? I know it went to some film festivals and things. How was it taken there?
Well, it got into a fairly large film festival, which was Montreal World Film Festival. That was our proudest achievement. And then it got into some smaller film festivals, 4 other film festivals. We didn't hit as many film festivals as we wanted to, but on the other hand, we decided to only submit to the top film festivals in the world, with the top 100. So we made it a little bit tougher for ourselves. I figured if you can't get into the best, then you just have to get better.
So you had older people on the set with a bit more experience. Did you use that experience? I mean, I guess placing things in the set, was it very much you saying what it was going to happen, or did you listen to the other guys on the set?
No, it was also listening to the other guys on the set. I mean, the way I had my cuts organized, they were way too long, and our sound guy, who was also holding the boom, was dying because he had this boom and he had this sound mixing thing on his lap, and he just, I needed to recut everything on set within 20 minutes so that he can actually do a better job, and we needed to go from like 10-minute cuts to 5-minute cuts. So you know, there were a lot of things like that, where how we can technically and logistically do things that can make it easier, more efficient for everybody involved.
Right. So it's not just the art involved in this. There's very much the logistics and technical issues to take into account. I guess, as seeing as you're producer, director, etc., it's the whole caboodle really you have to take into account.
Yeah, it's a very mechanical process. You know, I'm sure that once you get to a point where you're just a master at the craft, like Ridley Scott or Steven Spielberg, then it becomes second nature to you, and it can become more of an organic process. But where I am right now, it's still a very conscious process where I'm still thinking about the technical things and the logistical things, and I'm not letting go as much as I could be in terms of letting things flow organically.
Okay, well let's move on to your next song. So this is track number 4. What have you chosen for that?
I chose The Orbiting Suns by Jens Gott. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. And he is the second person involved in the project Enigma, which is one of my favorite musical acts. And I chose this because it's kind of reflects the more... I don't want to use the word mystical, but no other word is coming into my head right now. It's kind of spiritual letting go, and it's a beautiful song that kind of captures that part of my reality.
Okay, thanks Izzy. So here we go with Jens Gad and The Orbiting Sun.